Hello, welcome to From the Inside Out. My name is Daisy, and this week I'd like to talk about discipline again. Part 2, if you like. Last week we talked about, I talked about the importance of discipline and the importance of putting in boundaries in kids' lives, that we are raising future adults, not children. It's not for the moment, it's for the future. Discipline, how important it is for children to learn that there are consequences. It's not just punishment. It is through punishment and through consequences that they learn the perimeters within their world and what they can and cannot do. It makes for a better child, it makes for a better household, and ultimately for a better adult. So this week I thought, well, it's all very well telling you that, but hey, how about some simple tips? So looking back on what we did, one truth I learned very, very early on in our house was that what worked for one didn't necessarily work for the other. For example, sending children to their bedrooms. I found it, for the most part, counterproductive. Children, I don't believe in using a bedroom as a punishment thing when it's their safe haven, really. It's where they go to rest and all the rest. But before I sort of understood this, I found that my daughter loved going to her room. She loved going there, shutting the door and playing. So it was hardly a punishment being sent somewhere that she really enjoyed to be. So we had to get creative with her. With my son, however, he hated being sent to his room. He loved playing in his room, but he didn't like going there, being told to go there, and he certainly didn't like the door being closed. So with him, it was it was really cool. 30-second time out in his room worked wonders with my boy. So that's what I mean about different children, different punishments. It's not one punishment fits all. There are certain things within the house, like no technology. That's a real big one. No TV for a day. Because you've got to make it realistic. And you've got to, if you're going to threaten something, you've got to be prepared to follow through. One of my pet peeves that I hear with parents, and I heard this just the other day, was a parent threatening, if you touch that again, I'm going to cut your hand off. And I think, why would you threaten that? It is so, why not threaten something like, if you touch that again, I'm going to remove it? Because it was something, it was food related. So if you touch that again, you're not going to get it. If you touch that again, I don't know, you have to go and do the washing up. Something more realistic than, if you touch that, I'm going to, do that. I've heard parents say, if you kick that again, I'm going to cut your foot off. And again, it's so extreme. It's never going to happen. So why would you bother? It's got to be realistic, something a child will relate to, and it makes the consequence worse than the pleasure of actually doing it. It's what I call the aha moment. And we had this with my son, and leaving school uniform behind, losing sweatshirts when he was younger. Oh my goodness, we had to replace, I don't know how many sweatshirts, starting to really cost a fortune. Because he would take them off at school, but instead of going, he said he would put them in his bag, but he never did, and it was, oh my goodness, another sweatshirt lost. So we were getting very creative. Now I did have to resort to corporal punishment back then, and it was a smack on the hand. He got to choose what hand. I'm not proud of it looking back. And we don't have corporal punishment now in New Zealand for those that are overseas. It's now against the law here. So it's really cool. You've got to get creative in how you discipline your children. But back then we tried everything. Marching him back to school, giving time out, had him doing jobs in the yard, you name it, we tried it. For him to remember this. And then one day we were getting desperate, and then one day he came home from school with his sweatshirt, and he was ever so proud. He goes, "Mummy, mummy, mummy, look what I got, look what I got." And I was so proud of him, gave him a big hug and said, "Wow, you remembered it." And he says, "Yes, he says, I was walking over to my hook where his bag was in the cloakroom," and he said, "and I was just going to put it down on the seat, and as I walked away, my brain said," and this is what he did, he said, "my brain said, go and put it in my bag." And that's what I call the aha moment. And honestly, we never had another problem. with school uniform, because something had happened within the discipline for him to suddenly understand. And that was another thing I learnt, you see, that the consequence had to be bad enough or strong enough or reinforce enough, and ram this point home that the behaviour was not good enough. And it can be from all sorts of things, doing the dirty jobs around the house, to having rosters, having the good jobs versus the bad jobs, like my children like to sit in the front week about in the car going to school. So I turned that to my advantage and had certain jobs that went with that week of sitting in the front. And it can be from helping to tidy up, emptying the dishwasher, loading the dishwasher, putting the rubbish out. Making beds was something we did every morning anyway. That's another thing I want to talk about. That's all part of the discipline of children, is teaching them to leave their room tidy in the morning when they take their clothes off, putting it away. It's not something that's a punishable thing, because you do it alongside them and they learn to do that, therefore they want to do that. But I'm talking about general jobs of the house. Children, even from the age of 2, my 1-year-old granddaughter is now learning to put her toys away. You know, we do it alongside her when she's had her toys out and she's going home, but she picks up toys and toddles over and puts it in her basket, and she's learning. If she drops something at my feet, I ask her to pick it up, and if it's the rubbish tin, she'll toddle to the rubbish bin now. Even now, she's learning. You can't just randomly wreck stuff and walk away and think it's okay. And we as parents do. It's a bad habit to get into, to be constantly running around and making it okay for them. Because that's not how the real world works, even at the age of 1. So I'm going to leave it there this week, but this is a subject that's passionate to me. I see it all around me, how parents are just so confused these days on basic things. And so I may continue this next week with some more helpful hints, especially when it comes to little girls and choosing clothes and things like that. So I'm going to say goodbye and speak to you in a week, and have a fabulous, in New Zealand we're having exceptional hot days, so I'm going to go and enjoy the sun, perhaps not the heat but the sun, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye bye.